Thank you and good afternoon. So I think I'm representing the NGO sector, rather a large sector to have to represent here. But in the last 2 days, I think that there's been a lot of discussion around systems and the systems approach. And I think our gap and our challenge is now to think about how we turn that to action and how we implement a systems approach. I think also we've heard a lot about the discussions of networks, of the importance of social capital. I think again, the challenge that lies ahead for us as the NGO sector perhaps is to think about what does it mean for us when we talk about dynamic networks? What are the new partnerships that we need to bring together to achieve action? We need to think about the who should be engaged in the process, and who is that perhaps beyond just your community level or your national level, but we've heard a lot about the need to think regionally and beyond borders. I think it's also a critical time for us now to think about how we engage at all levels as we talk about the various capacities and particularly the issue of transformative capacity. So again, I think the challenge that lies ahead for all of us is how do we identify the right platforms, the relevant platforms with the relevant actors that will enable action, that will enable us to demonstrate evidence, and most importantly perhaps building off the smallholder farmers, how do we create space where we can interface between the national level, the policy level, and the community level? How do we use that to inform and influence? I think lastly perhaps is also to think a little bit about some of these more critical issues around urbanization. More than half the world's population now live in urban centers, but we don't seem to have heard much about the issues of urban resilience, the opportunities of the urban to rural and the rural to urban. I think also there's a challenge ahead for us in terms of the need for greater thinking behind capacity building. What do we mean by capacity building? But also for the NGO sector, I think the challenge lies ahead for us to perhaps have to think differently, to act differently. What are the skills we need within our own organizations as we think about the words of facilitation, the move from humanitarian to long-term development, rather than direct service delivery? What is our role when we talk about facilitating the private sector, civil society, and the public sector? Thank you very much.
Sean, thank you very much.